First 4 episodes of this series are about everything that goes wrong, from the person that's the shock absorber to the conversation you keep avoiding like you owe it money. All that was real. But what I want to tell you about the other kind of moment, the kind where you look around mid-shift and think, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like." Because that moment exists. If nobody's told you that yet, somebody should have. It was one of those shifts where the whole place felt like it was leaning, work stacked up, time getting short, radios chirping nonstop. One crew waiting on us, another unit torn apart farther down the floor. Everybody moving a little faster than normal and pretending they weren't stressed about it. Real pressure, not high visibility, stakeholder alignment, not the kind of fake corporate urgency people perform in meetings where nobody's carrying tools and the biggest risk is somebody stealing your yogurt out of the break room fridge. It's real pressure. Quality matters, output matters, and people are tired. And if the crew doesn't come together right now, the whole thing goes off the rails. You can feel that kind of moment when it hits. Everybody gets a little sharper. Conversations get shorter. People stop screwing around. And whether they realize it or not, everybody's asking the same question. Are we about to come together or are we about to come apart? And old Randy, episode 2 Randy, the one whose hands grabbed tools before his brain finished forming a single thought, this is exactly where I would have started doing too much. Jumping into every problem, chasing every noise, trying to carry the whole shift personally like an overcaffeinated martyr with steel toes and a savior complex. That used to be my move, because when you come up through the work, motion feels like leadership. You see pressure, you move. You see fire, you grab the water. You see confusion, you sprint directly into the confusion until now it's your confusion. That's how workers survive. It is not always how leaders lead. So this time, I didn't try to be the hero. That was the whole difference. And I know that sounds small, but it wasn't small. I stayed calm, not fake calm, not supervisor calm, where your face is relaxed, but your internal organs are already filing incident reports. Actually calm enough to see the whole field. What matters most right now? Where's the real bottleneck? Who's overloaded? What's actually dangerous versus what's just loud? What can wait? What absolutely cannot slip? And for maybe the first time in my life, I didn't go chasing every little problem like a Labrador with a wrench in its mouth. I got clear. I made sure people understood priorities. I moved the right people onto the right things. I checked on the guy who was starting to spiral instead of pretending stress magically builds character. And then I trusted the crew to carry their part without me crawling all over the work, proving I still knew how to turn a wrench. Now, that one is harder than it sounds. Because when you've spent years building your identity around being useful, stepping back feels wrong. It feels lazy. It feels like cheating. Somebody's going to look over and think, hell, I guess Randy's just standing around. And your ego, which, by the way, has the survival instincts of a drunk raccoon, starts whispering, prove it. Go grab something. Move faster. Look busy. For years, I confused movement with value. If I wasn't exhausted by the end of the shift, I didn't think I'd earned my spot. But that's not leadership. That's performance art for workaholics. So this time I told my ego to sit down, shut the fuck up for a minute. I didn't try to prove myself with movement. I led with clarity. And really, that changed everything. And this is the part that actually mattered. The crew moved, not in panic, not in confusion, not with that weird hesitant energy where everybody keeps half looking at the supervisor, waiting to see if dad's out to come fix it. They moved like a crew. One mechanic quietly stepped over and helped another guy who'd gotten behind without making production. One of the younger guys caught a mistake before it turned into a bigger problem. because he wasn't scared to speak up. People communicated, people adjusted. The stronger hands covered weak spots without turning it into some ego Olympics about who works harder. Problems got solved where they should have been solved instead of escalating up to me like I was the last emotionally stable adult left in the building. And that right there is the tell, because pressure exposes what people actually believe. If they think the whole operation depends on you personally, they freeze, they wait, they stare at you. But if they believe the standards are real, if they believe ownership actually belongs to them too, they move. I watched people carry ownership that day, not just tasks, ownership. And after enough years of thinking leadership meant personally dragging every problem across the finish line with your own bare hands and deteriorating mental health on top of it, watching that happen is almost disorienting. Not because somebody gave a speech, not because a motivational eagle flew through the shop blasting patriotic music, because the crew behaved differently. That's the only scoreboard that really matters. And honestly, it felt weird, that sincerely. When you're used to chaos, competent feels suspicious at first. When you're used to carrying too much, used to the knot in your stomach, used to thinking if you let go for 6 minutes, the whole place is going to turn into a Facebook marketplace yard sale, watching things actually work makes you uneasy. You're standing there waiting for the next disaster to unfold. And then it doesn't happen. And then the next thing doesn't happen either. And you look around and realize, oh, hell, this is clean. That's the word. Clean. Not easy, not soft, not even stress-free. Pressure was still real. The work still mattered. People were still tired, but it wasn't chaos. It was organized. And there's a specific feeling that comes with that. Not pride exactly, not at first. More like relief with backbone. Like your chest loosens up a little bit. You think, all right, maybe I'm finally doing the right job, that feeling matters. Hang on to it when you get it, because leadership does not hand out obvious wins very often. Most of it feels like maintenance, quiet corrections, tiny decisions nobody notices unless you screw them up catastrophically. So when you finally get a glimpse of the thing working the way it's supposed to, you feel it somewhere real. Not because your ego got fed, because your effort finally made sense. So why does anybody sign up for this? Why deal with the disloyal friend, the identity crisis, the long timer, the hard conversations, the stress, the second guessing, the constant low grade feeling that everybody else's problems somehow got direct deposited into your nervous system? Because every once in a while, you look up and realize people are handling business without needing rescued every 6 minutes. You watch a crew become a crew, an actual team. Trust showing up under pressure. Standards becoming real. People carrying themselves differently because the culture around them finally got sturdy enough to hold the weight. That's the payoff. Not the title, not the meetings, not the privilege of answering emails. Nobody should have sent in the first place, probably. The payoff is watching something solid happen that would have fallen apart a year earlier. That's leadership, not being the hero. Building something that functions even when you aren't. And those moments answer all the ugly questions job makes you ask. The nights where you wonder if you're helping or just babysitting grown adults with access to industrial equipment. The days where you think nobody notices the effort. The time you feel like you're absorbing stress for a living with no proof it's accomplishing anything. Then you get one of these moments and you realize every hard conversation, every correction, every awkward moment, every standard you held when it would have been easier not to was building towards one thing: crew that doesn't need rescuing every time pressure shows up. So if you're in the ugly middle right now, still grabbing the wrench too fast, still caring too much, Still trying to solve every problem yourself personally because somewhere deep down your brain thinks exhaustion equals value? Keep going. Not because it gets easy, because I can tell you for sure it doesn't. Not because everybody suddenly becomes mature and grateful and emotionally balanced. That's not going to happen. They won't. Keep going because every now and then you get a glimpse of what this thing actually can be. Pressure without panic, work without chaos, people doing what they're supposed to do because the culture finally got real enough to carry the weight. That's the moment. Not because you got to be the hero, because the crew didn't need one. That's hard hat philosophy. See you next.